Watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
Thanks for joining us again on Cold Digest Tuesday. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Now, the very popular adjectives that do characterize the election as we count down to the February general elections in Nigeria are free, fair, and credible. Now, what does it mean for an election to be free? Find out what the English dictionary, the Oxford Dictionary this time, has to say about free. And free here means, of course, the word free is one of the top 1,000 frequently used words in the English dictionary. And the free there means one able to act or be done as one wishes, not under the control of another. I have no ambitions other than to have a happy life and be free. Okay, free to make a choice. Okay, so ability to act or be done as one wishes. Free there means your ability to vote for the choice of your heart. February 14. I'm teaching some English this morning. And then another example here says able or permitted to take a specified action. Okay, so if you have the ability or permitted to vote for your choice on February 14, then for you, the election might be free. Another one talks about of a state or its citizens or institutions subject neither to foreign domination nor to despotic government. It also gives an example of a free press, the ability of journalists to do their work well without being inhibited or obstructed on February 14, and other dates might also be free. Now let's move away from there and find out what fair means according to the Oxford Dictionary. Fair here is an adjective that talks about treating people equally without favoritism or discrimination. The group has achieved fair and equal representation for all its members. They say a fairer distribution of wealth. Maybe this is where Independent National Electoral Commission comes in, being able to treat every ballot paper, every computation equally without favoritism. Let's check out some more examples. Just or appropriate in the circumstances. To be fair, this subject poses special problems. It's not fair to take it out on her, and it goes on and on like that. Another archaic meanings of a means of procedure, not violent, try forced by fair means. So you see non-violent election there also being referred to as fair. Then lastly is the word credible. Credible, an adjective that means able to be believed, convincing. Few people found a story credible. A credible witness. Okay, so that's what it means when majority of the people believe and are convinced that the results of the February 14 election is free and fair. Okay, more examples here talks about capable of persuading people that something will happen or be successful. A credible threat. All right, it goes on and on like that. All right, back to my studio. I'm joined now by DEBO ADENIRAN. He's a chairman coalition against corrupt leaders. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. It's my pleasure being with you
again. Happy
New
Year today.
It's the same to you.
It's the first time we're meeting in 2015.
Exactly.
Okay, the Nigerian factor comes in here, where people will say it's not possible for elections to hold without politicians rigging. The idea is the best rigger wins the election. Are we seeing a total change from that concept? Is it feasible? Is it possible ahead of the February 14 elections?
Well, thank you very much for that question. It's a question that we have answered, but which has not been properly raised.
Okay.
Okay, because all of this fear that is being nursed by the public on international watchers also is born out of experience, because we have never had an election that is completely free, that is fair, that is credible in our history. So that is why people talk about checkered history, you know, electoral history especially, even not in the First Republic, because people believe that the colonialists handed over to those who will protect their interests in Africa generally, in Nigeria in particular. Then when you look at history of our other elections, for example, the June 12, 1993 election, yes, it was free. It was credible based on the way it was conducted, but it wasn't fair. Okay, so some of us believe that 1993 June 12 election was not fair, despite the widespread, you know, opinions, perception that it was the best election we could have. It wasn't. You know what? If an election came up in a situation whereby some candidates and aspirants are better kitted than others, you can have level playing field, but if you are not properly kitted, you cannot play at the same advantage level with the other. For example, even if it's in soccer, some people are playing with boots, some people are playing with ordinary feet without anything covering it up. Okay, so some people are better protected. Why not? So if you look at the events that preceded June 1993 election, you discover that political parties were banned so that government will create two political parties for the people. Okay. NRC and SDP, that is National Republican Convention and Social Democratic Party. That is the first element of unfairness, because it is the people that is supposed to create party. It is party that is supposed to create government, not government creating parties for the people. Parties are supposed to form government. Government now then form parties for the people. That is unfair. Those political parties that were banned, to political association first before political parties, they were banned. Then some politicians were actually prevented from contesting election. That was also unfair. Now, later, government came up with two political parties, a little to the right, a little to the left. Ideologies are not foisted on people. Okay. Ideology is like a religion that had to be inborn. Okay. It had to be from your heart of hearts that, look, this is the ideology I want to project. Now, you cannot be ultra left, you cannot be ultra right. So they have provided the ground upon which you can base your program and agendas. That is also unfair. Okay. Now, a situation whereby you now have an MKO Abiola, who is a global, you know, philanthropist that everybody knew, a business mogul, a newspaper person. Everywhere you find Abiola, he is the pillar of sport, and he was the pillar of sport in Africa. And you now pair him with a Tofa that is relatively unknown. It's a known quantity and all that. You know, so when you look at it, and it was the making of the government that led to the emergence of those two. You can compare an Abiola to Tofa. So the ground had been prepared for Abiola to win that election. But at the end of the day, the master stroke was what Babangida applied on June 23rd, you know, when with a one-sentence statement said that the election had been annulled, you know, after Abiola had won. So apparently, the military was confused. So that is an unfair election. Now, the reason why people are saying that no election can be free and fair in Nigeria is because subsequent elections have been based on the principle of do or die syndrome. So every politician wants to win at all costs. And politics have been so monetized that honest people cannot participate, because you will not. If you are earning legitimate income, you cannot be able to afford the costs of nomination forms.
It's all right. We'll get
Okay,
there.
so-
But let's quickly look at some occurrences in 2015 under the umbrella of fairness.
That's right.
The APC accused NCC, working for the federal government, for not allowing them to go ahead with their fundraising strategy via
right.
the telecommunication system.
That's right.
On the other side, River State government, after using a particular stadium for their APC presidential campaign, just came up and said that the stadium is under renovation and that the presidency, the PDP, will not be able to use it for their own campaign come Wednesday. How would you describe these two concepts under the umbrella of fairness?
Well, it is not even only that. You know, there have been several unfair treatment of Nigerians, you know, from the level of registration. You know, people killed 2011, you know, under the blazing sunshine, January, you know, to register. Ordinarily, I mean, if temporary card, TVC, could be produced immediately and handed over to the... It's a matter of translating, I mean, transforming that to PVC. And that should not take eternity to do. So, election, I mean, unfairness has started since 4 years ago when PVC had not been handed over to the rightful owners.
I see.
Now, talking about other issues like electoral law itself, electoral law that prevents individual candidates who might not even find his soulmate in all the existing political parties cannot contest as at the time we are talking now.
Talking about
So,
independent candidacy.
the independent candidacy. So unless you have to moderate your own view to suit the purpose of those that have put themselves together under certain political parties. So you now look at it that, oh, I have this kind of ideology, I have this kind of ideas I want to project. Where do I belong? It's difficult. So you have to tolerate maybe those you ordinarily wouldn't have want to associate with. Now, talking about what you said without wasting much time on other precepts, is when an SEC, I mean, fundraiser, you cannot donate more than a certain amount of money according to electoral law. As a matter of fact, it is the electoral law that actually monetizes, you know, politics, because you allow people to spend as much as they cannot afford. Now, once you have allowed that, the next thing, and you have put a bar on how much individual person or corporate entity can donate. As a matter of fact, there are some corporate entities that cannot donate on behalf of themselves. So basically, you should allow people to raise funds from individuals who admire where they did it at one level. Now, of course, they claim that they didn't shut down the platform deliberately, but that is just a claim. And the River State government also has said that it needed to move contractors back to side, that the place was not good enough, where they have fantastic excuses for doing it. It's just like an Edo State government opening the roof of the chambers of the Edo State Assembly because some people want to continue to meet there. It doesn't want it to go. So is it also that our courts were shut down because, according to sources, they didn't want people to go and query the rationale between certain candidates from contesting. And the courts have been begged to reopen because they wanted some other people to go to court to stop the election. So it's because of the way people, I mean, our powerful people play gymnastics with logic that make people to lose interest and lose confidence in the propriety of our electoral system. And the reason is not far-fetched. Most of the laws that guide our electoral process are foisted on us. They didn't emanate from the people. So the experiences people have garnered over the years are made to go into waste. And that's because people didn't own the process that leads to the electoral exercise. They are skeptical that there might be some trump cards that the powerful element within the society might want to play. Now, look at it again, that the state had to procure arms and ammunition from the back door. The state also granted licenses for certain elements to procure arms and ammunition for a role that our military system could have been able to execute. That is an unfair treatment of different categories of people. So this gives a lot of apprehension, that look, the way things are going, look at Chibok girls, you can't get them back. And you are able to provide, I think you sent about 20,000 troops to the war zone in Nigeria. You now sent about 300 troops for election monitoring in one state. All of this doesn't show fairness in the distribution of in the distribution of benefits of the democratic parties. So this is why people are skeptical. Now, going by what we are seeing on the ground, it is the people themselves that can make the forthcoming election to be acceptable. There's no election anywhere that is totally free and fair. There must be some overzealous elements who want to overdo things or underdo them. You could see also that some PVCs are found in bushes.
Let me just hold you for a minute. You've been able to establish in the opening remarks that it is possible for an election to be free and not fair.
Yes.
Obviously, you've been able to itemize certain factors that have made this election not fair to some parties. But then, if it's free and not fair, is it possible that we have a free, not fair, but credible election? We'll talk much on that, but we have to take a commercial break now, and we'll be back afterwards. Stick around, don't go away.
Your account is too low for this call.
Never get stranded with MTN Extra Time. You can now borrow airtime and pay back at your next recharge. Dial *606# now to enjoy the new MTN Extra Time.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Glad to have you join us again. It's Core Digest Tuesday, exclusive to Core TV News, as we touch on towards a credible February poll between politicians and the electorate. I'm joined by DEBO ADENIRAN. He's the chairman, Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders. Thank you very much for staying the course on the show today. We'll open the phone lines now, and of course you can also reach us on our Twitter handle at Core Digest Live. When you call in, endeavor to turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have crystal clear communication ongoing. There's a little delay between what we say here and what you hear on your Start Times device, so you want to mute your TV set so we can keep the conversation on telephone. Before we talk about credibility, would it be fair on the part of the electorate to postpone this election given certain reasons like irregularities in the distribution of PVC, insecurity in northeastern Nigeria, amongst others?
Well, definitely it won't be fair to the electorates who have invested so much emotions on the forthcoming election, because it will dampen their spirit.
But what about
even the political parties, the steam will be lost in them.
What about the unfairness that you identify as regards not collecting the PVC?
The truth is that if non-releasing of the PVC is a booby trap, the people should not allow it to work. But the truth is that the INEC authorities have come up to say that the PVCs will be ready and collection date will be extended as far as February 13. So that is more gratifying. Then when you look at insurrection in the northeastern part of Nigeria, that is not the making of the people, and the people are still living in those environments. They still engage in trade and commerce. They still, people still go to school. Universities are still operating. So why won't election take place? Okay, it's just that the president visited, despite all the insecurity and the fear that insurgents might strike. Okay. But eventually, there were no casualties during the visit, and campaigns are still going on there. So if all of those activities which is regular sociological setting, is still there. Why not election? Okay, so they have no reason to stop election for anything, because all of these that they are citing is an admission of failure on the part of the ruling class. Okay, because they ought to have prognosed into the presence, okay, into the present times, that look, election will be coming up during this period. We ought to have put everything. That's the military and the government is saying that we want to bombard the insurgents. Why didn't they do it? Because the insurgency didn't start yesterday. Okay, so it may be that some people are just afraid that they might lose election, and they want to buy more time, either to plan their strategies, maybe for subverting the will of the people, or to go back to the drawing board to energize their reach out to the people. And
what do you
so
think will be the fallout of having an election where not a handful of the electorate have the opportunity and the credibility to do so?
No, the truth is that nobody is stopping anybody from doing what he had to do under the circumstances. And it is not restricted to one particular party. Okay? It is when you don't give level playing field and you treat people differently.
I'm talking about the possibility of disenfranchising many Nigerians who are yet to get their PVC.
They will get it, according to Professor Jega. People, as a matter of fact, I visited a collection center yesterday. There are hundreds of cars there. People are not going there to check. And when you go to your unit, they direct you to where you have the pool of cars waiting for collection. So it is the people that should go there. It is not the system that is actually differentializing those who didn't go there to collect their PVC. It is their own lethargy. Now, if there are certain people who have registered normally and have not got their PVC, those are the people who could complain. But registration have been found to have been flawed in some cases. They say that if you registered more than once, your name could be cancelled. And there are occasions when the registrars themselves, they make mistakes in the registration. We cannot attribute that to a deliberate ploy to deny some people their capacity to vote. So if such a thing happens, INEC has said you can go back and re-register. What I thought INEC should do is what it's doing, making, a kind of remedial arrangement for whatever must have gone wrong during the registration and after. So basically, it is not NEC problem. And they have promised that everybody that register and sorts for the PVC will get it before the election.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Turn down the volume of your TV set. Can you do that?
Yes. My name is Abdullahi. I'm calling from Abuja.
Abdullahi from Abuja, turn down the volume of your TV set and go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, I have done it, sir.
All right, go ahead, Abdullahi.
Okay. About the postponement of elections. You see, the whole issue of this thing is PDP, they are saying that they have already defeated. That's why they are trying to see what they can do to stop the election or the other things. Because if the issue of the promotion of, for example, this weekend, Abuja here in PW Primary School, I went weekend. I went there, I saw the INEC officer sitting, waiting for people to collect. Nobody is coming to collect. I asked them, they say, okay, most of the people see very few cars. People who are in PW, I see very few cars. Everybody has collected. So why are they, and still we have how many 2 weeks? Why are they shouting that we should postpone the election? Because they see defeat. That's why they want to manipulate the election as they do the other years. So we Nigerians, we are saying that no to postponement of election.
It's all right. Abdullahi, I believe you made your point there. But how then do we measure credibility? Because we've had elections in the past that have been notorious for not being free and not being fair. We've even had a president who came out publicly to say that he knows that the processes that brought him to power were not that clean that anybody can go to the court to challenge. We've also had election results that have been challenged several times in the court of law.
That's right.
How come we have been able to believe and accept those kind of processes as credible? Don't you think it's a challenge of the electorate, not even the system?
Yes. First and foremost, you cannot create a different nation for yourself. You will have to abide by whatever goes on around you. And that is why some people, even under despots, they still manage to exist in that country. Okay? It is not the wish of Nigerians to accept such elections, and it is also not their making that the elections are not credible or fair enough, but they don't have a choice, otherwise there will be turmoil, and if turmoil happens, we don't know who will go with it. So basically, all the bad elections that we've been having, it is just that the people have to tolerate them. And some of the leaders also knew that they didn't get to position of power through free, fair, and credible means. So they are just there, and they don't have moral authority to criticize, the conduct of the people. And that is why our country is perpetually underdeveloped. Our democracy is perpetually nascent, and our value system is perpetually degenerating, and development indices are plummeting. And so we cannot go anywhere until we find credible people in position of power through credible means. So if we want things to change, we have to overhaul our value system, which includes the electoral system, to the extent that every eligible voter will be allowed to register. Every eligible contestant will be allowed to contest without imposing so much fees on them. Now, the voters' register have to be displayed in conspicuous places whereby people who have registered will be able to check for their names, and they'll be sure that it's the name they register that is on the register. So basically, if the process is credible, the aftermath will be credible. Okay. And the other thing is that our politics should not be monetized. Okay. So when you are in an elective office, okay, you should not earn more than what ordinary people of your category, based on experience and exposure, will earn. So it should not be something that turns you to overnight billionaires. Okay. So you should not have those privileges that are far above those who are earning honest, incomes. Mm-hmm. So that's when you make it less attractive, when you make it a service-oriented thing, then no politicians want to make it a do or die affair.
Just a minute. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, welcome to Call Digest.
Thank you. This is Mr. Abiola from Akure. Abiola Ugu from Akure.
Abiola from Akure. How's Akure this morning?
Akure is fine.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Hello?
Go ahead with your contribution, Abiola.
Okay. I just want to have my own contribution.
Okay.
On the probability of this coming election.
Okay.
I don't see any reason why it should be postponed. For I think our leaders in Nigeria will be ashamed of themselves. I don't know what is happening with us. We said we are of Africa, and we have not demonstrated it. Our leaders are so greedy. They are so power conscious. I think this one should be stopped, because we the citizens, the electorate, we are not comfortable with the way they are wielding their power. I think we should stop this. That is my contribution for now.
It's all right.
No reason. Insurgency, CBC, they are uncalled for. Where have they been in all these days that we have been struggling to do this? Look at our parties, political parties. Look at our the candidates. They have spent a lot. They want it to be in vain. So it's uncalled for. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you very much for your contribution, Abiola from Akure. How does the politics of money, affect all of these free, fair, and credible concepts? Because we have a situation whereby there are many Nigerians whose primary priority at this time would be to feed themselves and their family members. There are possibility of being induced and being, inspired by certain money. In the situation whereby somebody is being convinced to vote otherwise by the function of what he gets, does that affect the credibility? How do we measure that?
Of course, it affects the credibility, because once the electoral system becomes monetized and electorates are induced to vote in a particular direction, then the outcome will be flawed, will not be credible. For example, it is still because of this do or die syndrome that make people induce electorates. If you know that you are not, if you see public office as service, you wait for the wielder of the political, authority, the governing instrument, to give it to you willingly. It is a shame. It's only shameless leaders that takes governing instrument of governing through the back door, and it's because of this that they perpetuate money politics. So it is also the same reason why the system is not favorable to the electorate, and they impoverish electorate to the extent of not being able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, between mortgaging their future for the sustenance of today. And if a system, the humanity has degenerated to that level that you can just take anything and sell your conscience, then that system has become animalistic in nature and living below animalistic level. And that is what you find in Nigeria. People go to donkey to fend for themselves. People do anything. They sell their body parts are being sold in the open market and the rest of them. So this is how the highest height of degeneracy a nation can fall into. But we need to stop it by not allowing the wealth of our nation to concentrate in the hand of few individuals. And the access to opportunities will not be limited to a few individuals.
But how do we address it on the short term? Because there are school of thoughts that collect it but vote your conscience. Is that a possibility?
There is no conscience once you collect it for a purpose. Yoruba said that, if your mouth eats, then shame will blind your vision. So, so once you ate from that pool of corruption, you want to perpetuate corruption. The same thing leads to our leaders who got to position of power through corrupt means.
Is it not justified? Sorry for cutting you short. When they say that it is your money that was stolen that they are giving back to you.
It is not justified because we are not practicing direct democracy. If we are practicing direct democracy, you are going to aggregate all resources you can get and distribute it to individuals. So you will do what we are doing now. So it is the money that has been stolen. That have been distributed to a few. It doesn't go around. If you are practicing direct democracy, you will say we have 170 million people in this country and we have 4 trillion naira to share. What per head? What is the demographic and all that? So you now look at the need of individual family, individual person and all that. You distribute it along. So you will now have to fix your own road, you fix your own gutter, you fix your own water, you fix your own electricity, you fix your own school. This is what we are doing though, but the money they ought to spend for it has been stolen by a few. So what they are doing is to involve you, to co-opt you into the club of thieves.
It's all right. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Call Digest. Can you turn down the volume of your TV set?
This is Zebedee on the line.
Zebedee from Aba. How is Aba this morning?
Very fine. Fine.
Welcome to Call Digest. Go ahead with your contribution, Zebedee.
I've been listening to your discussions.
Okay.
The issue, why people you find that people want to collect the one they see. When they get in there, all their promises, know what they will carry out. They will just be calling meeting of a meeting, having executive meeting of an executive meeting, but there's nothing to show for it. I remember visually here in Aba, 2011. I'm sorry to say this. Now, our current president came to Aba here in the new stadium with our current governor, George, and promised us that he's going to give us a lot of infrastructure. Look at the way Aba is. Everywhere is later, everywhere is important. That is, I cannot just define how Aba is. Aba is very bad. And for these 8 years now, nothing has been done. Nothing. Yesterday, rain fell in Aba. If you look at Port you will miss it for us. But you look at what is coming out from Aba. A lot of things is coming from Aba here. And every day they are promising us this and that. So that's why you see that people want to collect the one they have. I know that it's wrong. I know it's corruption. But all these things is happening because people knew. The people I used to collect, I'm not a politician. I'm not even ready to go to their rally. I can't do that. So the people that are collecting the one they are collecting is just because they say, let them see it now. Because the only thing you can give the masses, like someone like me now, is that you give me life. You give me road. That thing that I require from you. But all these things are not there.
Okay.
All these are not there, and that is the problem that we are facing in this country.
It's
like what I was saying yesterday before my phone went off. Look at the campaign yesterday in Jos. A lot of things that was pointing out. That is why you see that people are having violence generally.
Are you there?
Now to control their mouth.
Okay.
They should learn how to control what they are saying. To avoid violence, not signing that. Look at America just came, the Secretary of America came, telling us that anybody who controls violence, they will not give you visa. Do you know why they say that? Because they have fixed up their country now. That's why they are proud of it. And our leaders are not ready to fix up Nigeria. They are not ready.
It's all right. Thank you very much for joining us today, Zebedee from Aba. It's a pleasure having you always. Well, let's take this discussion to another level. We talked about how money inducement can affect the credibility of elections. And you're also of the opinion that collecting it has already shrouded your sense of conscience and right doing. Okay, but if we take a little step away from there, after the 2011 elections, we experienced some post-violence in northern Nigeria. Now, Mr. President and the APC presidential candidate differed in the reasons for this post-election violence. While Mr. President was given statistics that he did not even win elections in those areas, that the violence couldn't have been a question of the credibility of the election. The APC presidential candidate thinks otherwise. Number one, would you say that that violence was a product of non-credibility as it's been perceived by the electorate? Then number two, are there alternatives to showing one's grievances when credibility cannot be ascertained after elections?
Well, first and foremost, the alternatives that are available have been blocked by the system, and that will have been the judicial system, and the judicial system is being manipulated every time. Now, what happened in that part of the country is that people believed that their candidates could have won the election based on what they cast as their votes, but
at their own region.
Yes, at their own region, and information they even get from other places. Now, they discover that it's a different candidate that was announced.
Okay.
So they were showing their anger. And I should tell you, we also engage in protest marches. It is not the protesters that actually cause violence. It's those who are supposed to douse it that resorts into violence, especially the law enforcement agencies. When they begin to arrest people, when they begin to use tear gases, people run helter-skelter. Some of them, I mean, find themselves in the ditch. Some of them run to the road and hit by oncoming vehicles. So people's anger will grow higher, and they want to unleash it on the system that has denied them the right they were fighting for. That is what you call violence. Okay, when people speak, glowingly about a stolen item that belongs to the generality of the people, and they begin to display it as if to tempt them that we can steal with impunity and nothing will happen. So people vent their anger. That leads to violence when the law enforcement agency, who blindly defends the system, they are supposed to guide a protest to ensure that it doesn't escalate into violence, but they are the ones that normally escalate it. So basically, there's none other means of expressing their anger than what they are doing. It is the system that should know how to curtail the escalation, the conflagration.
Are you painting a hopeless situation? Because
the truth that is
violence obviously wouldn't be the way to address issues.
Let me tell you. Don't let us go there. I've been trying to avoid it because I don't want to talk about some of these things. There are occasions when you cannot build without destroying. Okay, the system is rotten. Okay?
It has not worked in any part of the world. We've seen it in Egypt. We've seen it in other African countries.
Let me tell you, I don't care. I don't even give foreign examples and all that. It worked for us to the extent that we forced Babangida to step aside.
It's all right.
Let
us quickly move away from there, because we must also bear in mind that
for Abacha to operate.
Just a minute, because obviously,
just like his stooges,
the 2011 elections, the post-violence that rocked that particular year. Just recently, some group picked it up and they said they're suing General Muhammadu Buhari to the International Criminal Court, being responsible for about 800 lives that were lost. You see, the bottom line is that it is the electorate, the average Nigerian, that loses out. As we speak now, no major politician has been held responsible for that violence in northern Nigeria.
Look, it is just that they don't admit they lose. Let me tell you, a number of elected officials, elections have been reversed in a couple of states by the law courts. Then when it is the protest that greeted some of these things that informed the judiciary that you cannot afford to do otherwise. Now, if people's anger are ignited higher than what it is, it leads to revolution. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work somewhere. It doesn't mean that yours cannot be the first. Okay, so try everything and ensure that your right is not taken away from you.
Hello, good morning. Can you turn down the volume of your TV set? I can hardly hear you.
Yeah, I'm far away from it now.
Okay, what's your name?
Yeah, today Ahmed from Oshogo.
Okay, Ahmed from Oshogo. Go ahead with your contribution. All right, please go ahead with the contribution. Tunde, okay, from Oshogo. Go ahead, please.
I'm just concerned about the issue of the date of election to be postponed.
All right, go ahead, please.
The people that you have to have. Who is not here? Is it the president of the Senate or right? Hello?
Well, with you.
Are you with me?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, what is the problem is that if the INEC is not ready, then what will have happened? Let the federal government adopt the state for maybe give the people holidays so that everybody can now go and request for their application.
It's all right. Thank you very much for your contribution today from Oshogo. The European Union says this morning that they'll be deploying about 90 of the international observers for the 2015 election. Of course, they talked about not going to northeast Nigeria. How will you describe the credibility of these international observers, given our history with them? as a nation?
Well, as far as they are concerned, we should look at what they did in their own country. European Union is, the countries that belong to the European Union are known to have conducted acceptable elections, generally acceptable elections. So they have what it takes to monitor what we are doing. They are not intervening. They just look at what we are doing and they will do their own report. They are not going to give anybody any particular advice. They are not the security agencies. Right. They just observe. So that is a different ball game altogether. Their reports is supposed to be credible. It's supposed to be neutral and it's supposed to be acceptable to the people if because as human beings generally, what doesn't operate in their own country may be acceptable to us here. And eventually, because our authorities have succeeded in bribing contractors from those countries before, despite the fact that they punish their own culprits, we glorify ours here. Oh no, the firms that they use to perpetrate such evil are even given more contracts here, even when they sanction them in their home countries. So the system here can pollute the individuals that may come, depending on what conscience they carry. So talking about the credibility of our own election, it depends on us. It doesn't depend on the international observers. Whether they go to any part of the country, of course, they will only go to places where they are sure, they are doubly sure that they are safe. And because they don't even understand the terrain as we do, they may decide not to go. But wherever they observe the election, they should be able to report.
Well, what's the implication of not having international observers like the EU in Northeast Nigeria?
There is satellite imaging. There will be a way of observing it. Okay? There's nothing going on in any part of the world that is hidden, under the present technological age that we are living in. So basically, it will be observed. But then, the credibility of our election is what I'm saying does not depend on the opinion of these international observers. It depends on what we are able to do
by ourselves. Let's take this call. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, welcome to Call Digest.
Yeah, thank you. I'm calling from Lagos.
What's your name?
This is Mr. Onu.
Mr. Onu from Lagos.
Yeah.
All right, please go ahead with your contribution.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
One thing I want to say is that Nigeria should open their eyes very well to avoid all these dramatic electionary campaigns going on concerning one particular candidate, which is not healthy enough for Nigeria. The US that came into Nigeria, like your man is talking there, they have their own peculiar problems. And Nigerians have not gone there to tell them what to do. So our leaders should learn to put things right so that outsiders will not come in to tell us what we should do. We Nigerians, we know what we want. We know what is going on. We know who we want to elect as a president. A man that will take us to the place of every rule among the nations. So Nigerians should open their eyes, and INEC, I want to bring this as a suggestion or an advice to INEC as well. That INEC keep on talking, go and collect your PVC, go and collect your PVC. And by the time you get to the your whatever area you were asked to go for it, you will not need an INEC to attend to you. As I speak to you, I have visited the area of pulling areas to be able to collect or work. Yes, you could not identify any of the INEC officials.
Which area is that, Mr. Onu?
Yeah.
Which area are you referring to?
I'm referring to Mushin.
Mushin. Have you been to the local government area in Mushin?
Yes.
You've been to your local government? Have you been to your local government?
I have not seen any of the INEC officials. When you come, they say they've not come. The other time they said they have not, the BVCs are not ready. But to go on their website, the number we were giving to call to make it ready. Sometimes they keep on deducting money and keep on telling you your VC is not correct, it's not correct, it's not correct. So they keep on deducting money. So we don't know what INEC is up to. If you listen now, the other laboring station, which my beginning is still talking about it, right? So when you get there, you will not meet them. And Nigerians are trying to say, go collect your PVCs. Because you collected it does not mean that all Nigerians have collected it. And INEC should not hide under the shield that will go and collect your PVCs. And if it's ready, you just put a call to see Nigerians to ask. How many people have collected? People have left their offices, left their jobs, all in the name to go for it. And yet, we could not get anybody to attend to us. So that next should see to it. They should stop all these sounding loud noises and go and collect. As if you got there, you meet somebody, you collect it so easily. So I don't really understand. I need to sit up concerning this. Because if we're differentiated concerning this one, we will not be happy over it. We want to vote. If we want to vote a man of credible character, we want to vote for whatever symbol we are putting on television concerning a man. That is to show that one of the parties has no substance on the table.
It's all right, Mr. Onu.
Please come down to campaign issue-based.
It's all right.
The current political party on the street right now, giving to Nigeria. So avoid all this military money spending on that.
It's all right, Mr. Ono. I believe you made your point there. I hope you get your PVC so you can give that credible vote to your credible candidate. But INEC should also bear in mind, I hope that someone close to INEC is watching right now, Mushin local government area. There is a complaint that just came in now as regards challenges collecting the permanent voter card in that area. Maybe we should quickly touch on the role of INEC in ensuring free, fair, and credible elections, because at this time now, it looks as if credibility isn't just a function of what happens after election day, but the processes that lead to the election proper.
That's where I started from, that the processes of making an election not credible started with the registration of voters. A situation whereby even registration will close at a particular time, you know, even when another election is not taking place, may be unfair. And the INEC can be used to kit different contestants differently. Some are well kitted, some are better kitted than others. That will not give the same advantage to playing on what they call the level playing ground. So if INEC also didn't delineate, you know, their geographical locations, you know, properly in such a way that people can easily identify them with some insignia, then it will be difficult for some people to even locate places where they are supposed to vote. Then if INEC allow his register to be doctored, you know, some people will die, some people will reach voting ages, they should continue to update their register. If they don't do that, the tendency is there for them to disenfranchise those who are of voting ages, and those who die may find their name being used by unscrupulous elements. If they are not, then if they don't have officials that are public friendly, if they are so hostile, people may get, you know, disinterested, that they didn't like the way they are being treated. And if the INEC didn't organize itself to meet deadlines or to meet aspirations of people, they get people bored. Just like the last caller said, he had left his work, he went there several days. Although in some other places like Ijai Ojokoro, you just go to Ojokoro High School, several cars are lying there. The INEC people are there waiting for those who will collect them. Somebody also called to say that he saw it in some places outside Lagos. So basically, I mean, different strokes for different folks. But INEC has come out to say that there's no reason for postponement of elections.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Call Digest.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Abdullah, I'm calling from Suleja.
Abdullah from Suleja.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Yeah, I want to talk about that 2011 election.
Okay.
That's a past election.
I condemn the act of violence entirely. I condemn the act of violence. But believe me, that election, it was massively rigged. Why I say so? And that is why 2011 election. If you look at the south and the southeast, the election that held
the National Assembly election and the Senate election. If you look at, for example, take example of Imo State. Imo State, take example of Imo State. Are you with me?
Yes, we are.
The total number of vote cast in the three senatorial districts, they are not up to 500,000. A week later, when they come to presidential election, almost 1 million plus voted for one candidate, whereas the other opposition get 3,000, 2,000 in Abia, Anambra. Then a week later again, governorship election. Both the governors that win the election and the other district, all their total votes, they are not up to the same 500,000. Whereas that is all of them, 1 million plus, 1 million plus. They'll come to the north. When you come to the north, our governors here in the north, in the name of getting 25% for the president, they went ahead and passed that one. They went to rural areas where there is no, the agent of the opposition, either they are bought, intimidated, they use power, election in the other areas, in the cities. They went to the rural areas, villages, and then they name of getting 25%, they get the election there. For example, Sokoto, where they say that the ruling party got 309,000, which is everybody knows it's life. It's life. Come to Katsina, they get 400,000, which is life. Come to Kano, they get 400,000, all is life. They election that, but people know nobody is talking about that thing. The Southwest, at that time, whether they are not ready for the presidential election, if you look at the election in the Southwest, the total number of votes of the presidential and that of entirely, I say, okay, something, it is counted, and the total number of votes that good not get in the presidential and that of governorship entirely go to the Oyo, the same thing. You get it. So, but the president was saying that the election was free and fair. We are just looking at him. It is such that they get the anger.
Yes.
Come out, shoot, work in the rural areas. The governors want go to the villages, rig elections there. They not getting to stop at it. While at the south and southeast, from their governors, the traditional rulers, the masses, the elite, everybody is behind one candidate, all of them. So they are rig the elections. There are lots of them. There are lots of these openly, but nobody is saying this thing. Nobody is saying this thing. I was even laughing when I heard the Senate President yesterday. He said that they are not going to rig elections this time around and nobody will rig them. That's what they are rigging before. Now they are seeing that people are now standing for change. Even if they say they will rig, the opposition get many governors. They will rig 50-50 and at the end of the day they will not go anywhere. That's why they are doing this thing. Please, that gentleman at the corruption country, I want you to please talk about that thing. Nobody, people are shying and running away from it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it.
That's all right.
The election in other places, the governors went there, rig election in the other parties, while the other, and they are saying the election is clear and fair, which is false.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi, for your contribution. Earlier, we also showed clips of the chairman of INEC meeting with all 37 resident electoral commissioners and telling them to remain focused ahead ensuring credible elections next month. But does it baffle you at all that in the past, just like he has established, there were rumors, there were stories of rigging, there were stories of corruption here and there, but there hasn't really been a significant prosecution? We'll have resident electoral commissioners that were found doing what they were not supposed to do as umpires. But then we just read about it and it fizzles out. If we've not been able to prosecute electoral offenders, what hope do we have that people will do the right thing in 2015?
Well, there's no hope that electoral offenders will be prosecuted because the law that shield them from prosecution has not been abrogated. Okay, so there's nothing. I mean, the law didn't criminalize, benefiting from fraudulent elections. So basically, that is why some of them that still have that baggage hanging on them still contest elections and they win. If you go to the Senate today, majority of them have those electoral baggage hanging on their neck. They are still there. And such a people cannot make laws that will punish electoral offenders. And the culture of impunity is, resident in Nigeria. So because those who are supposed to implement the law enforcement agencies themselves are pathetically corrupt. Okay? The judiciary has been destroyed. The former Chief Justice of Federation, Aloma Mokhtar, Justice Aloma Mokhtar, tried to sanitize that institution. She was stopped midway to her success. Okay, now she's no longer there. The successor has not made any move to sanitize the institution.
He just came in.
It doesn't matter. It was from the beginning that Aloma Mokhtar.
And they just called off the strike.
Well, the thing is that the strike was unnecessary in the first place, if not because the system want to use the strike to its own advantage. Okay, now they are begging with billions of naira for them to resume so that certain prosecution can go on. So that is how malleable the judicial system in Nigeria can be, and that is why people no longer repose any confidence in our ability to do anything.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Call Digest.
This is Mr. Idowu speaking from Ilorin.
Mr. Idowu from Ilorin.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
All right. I'd like to contribute to what Mr. DEBO actually raised the other time.
Okay.
Mr. DEBO, we raised the issue of 2011 election. That was the post-election violence. And I was surprised to hear you exonerating the perpetrator. Because if you look at what happened there, of course, everybody understands that post-election violence was instigated by a particular contender, that's a presidential candidate of this issue then. And we all know the statements that were made by this man when you just lost an election. And you have the boldness to come out and start crying in front of the whole country that, okay, you have done already down. Imagine the last contributor that just said, okay, it was well understood that the elections were rigged in some part of the country. As it was also established by Mr. DEBO. Now, let me tell you something. If I go to Kaduna, and I'm expecting that the candidate should win an election in Kaduna, what did an assurance that this same candidate will win in Lagos? What happened to governorship election in Lagos in 2011? How come that Jonathan won the presidential election and Fatila won the governorship election? That's what we're trying to except also state. Are you saying the presidential election was rigged in other states except also state? And yet, we have so many people governors that imagine. Please, when you vote for somebody, you don't expect that, okay, this is the same way you take without this particular candidate. That you don't get everybody to take this or our religion. You vote because of that. Do you know how many lives that we have lost? I was in the north then. Do you know how many churches that we have lost? Are you justifying that for them that this perpetrator? You never say anything to condemn that particular act. You never exonerated them because they said the election was rigged. I'm sure that the election was rigged. Even if you look at the election, the so-called presidential candidate, even one in this state, then guys will tell you that, okay, these people already have something in mind to do, and yes, the statements are already coming out now that there's a backroom withdraw after the election. Now, and there's another government, and yes, you still say, okay, you don't know who is the this government. Yes, everybody already say, okay, no need to vote for this.
It's all right. Mr. Idowu, okay. I believe you made a point. Let's just clear the coast. Yeah. Are you justifying the post-election violence in 2011? That's his question.
I didn't justify it by any breath. What I said is that, you see, until somebody has been held culpable and found guilty by a competent court of law, you cannot say he actually instigated the violence. But what I was saying generally is that when people are dissatisfied with certain occurrence, they are supposed to be free to go on the streets to protest, their whatever. Then that the law enforcement agencies are supposed to guide them in their protest to ensure that it doesn't escalate to a conflagration that will be difficult to douse. So I didn't say that that is the particular thing.
But the possibility.
But the truth is that it is, we are differently, we differently have emotional makeup. Some people can even break down on set and weep because they feel the pain that they might not even have evidence to prove that they were rigged out, but within their heart of hearts, they know that they were denied, the opportunity that would have come their way. So basically, I am not exonerating anybody. If Buhari was found to have instigated it, that's what we advocate, that offenders should not be allowed to go unpunished, that the punishment that should be commensurate with the offenses that have been committed, we deter others from committing the same offense.
The fear at this time is being able to bridge between protest, how to define violent free protest, especially in northern Nigeria, because we showed a clip earlier this week, I think about last week, in Bauchi, where we saw young people violently destroy posters and paraphernalias that belong to the People's Democratic Party. This took a long time, and there were no hindrance.
That is the problem. You see, I was saying that if people come out to protest and the law enforcement agencies are up to their bidding, then they should have doused it, because you have intelligence system that will have sniffed out the planner.
Before we get to the enforcement agents, these people have political leaders that they listen to.
They don't. No, it is not the duty. We just attribute this thing under moral grounds. It is not the duty of the political, or the accord they are signing in Abuja. It's just to appeal to their moral suasion, not because it's binding. It is the what do you call them? Security agencies that have the duty, including the intelligence system, that have the duty to sniff out places where such a thing are being planned. If they are effective enough, they will have gotten a wind of it even before they got to the street. And if they got to the street, they caught them unawares, they will have had enough mobilization of their men and materials to nip it in the bud, rather than allow it to go unchallenged. It wasn't as if there were no security agencies. It's because they refused to do their work. Definitely anger can lead to anything. Even within siblings, they still engage in fisticuffs.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, this is John from Lagos.
John from Lagos, you have 1 minute. Please go ahead with your contribution.
The way INEC is going on, I don't think INEC is ready to conduct credible election.
Okay.
INEC has 10 years for everything. And to distribute the voter card, they're distributing it in 2000. INEC has disappointed Nigerians.
It's all right. I believe you made your point there, John. Thank you very much for calling us. We're rounding up now, but I just quickly want us to really clear the air on this. You also agree with me that the number of the people at any climb, in any situation, outnumbers the number of security agencies.
Yes.
So I want to believe that political leaders might still be in the best position, because they have the ears of their followers, to let them understand and educate them that violence isn't the right way to go. Because even if the security agencies are at the top of their game, they might eventually be overwhelmed.
Sometimes these political leaders are victims of people's anger, even when you try to stop them. The state has monopoly of violence. As soon as the citizenry hijack the monopoly of violence from the state has failed. That is what they call failed state. Okay, now it's like you are running a school. You have 2,000 pupils. How many teachers do you have? You may not have up to 100 teachers. They are able to control the system because of the control system they have put in place. Any child, any pupil that want to foment trouble is quickly expelled or maybe suspended to teach a lesson. So that lesson will be deterrent on others not to foment the same problem. The reason why we have police, if the ratio of the police to the people are not balanced enough, then the system should find a way of increasing the capacity of the... If the training is not good enough, they should increase the intellectual capacity and technical capacity of the law enforcement agencies. The intelligence system is not working. The reason why the state has monopoly of violence is because they have legitimate reasons of breaking into anywhere to ensure. That is why DSS broke into an office where they believed that some hacking is being planned, not executed. They were just planning when they broke into that place. Why don't they break into the houses of those who were planning violence, if indeed it happened that way? Now, if they are caught unawares, they have the capacity to deploy soldiers, just like they did during the elections. You know that, okay, the capacity of the police was not enough to curb the violence that was supposed to escalate. Then they can draft in all other agencies, you know, to do it. You don't leave the function of the official arms of government into the hands of ordinary people. They will not do it. Sometimes it consumes those who want to do it.
I want to contribute to the program going on the Court TV.
All right. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Benson Omole, calling from Ado-Ekiti.
All right, Benson, you have just 1 minute. Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Okay. My suggestion to those the either pre-election violence or post-election violence is in the hands of the parties in the election. The voter, ordinary man going to the polling booth to vote, the person you are voting for is a party. The INEC, they are also party. If, in a way, the INEC officials, they conduct themselves in a way that will infringe on my right to vote, then I should have the ability to take the INEC official personally to court to sue him for infringing on my right as a citizen.
Yeah.
Now, the primary reason for violence in election is that the people must have experienced lots of disappointment. The government, the law enforcement agents, they are virtually doing nothing. So the citizens have now taken laws into their hands because they do not see transparency, they do not see the commitment, they do not see the...
It's all right. Thank you very much, Benson, calling from Ado-Ekiti. Non-violence effort in the hands of all the parties involved. DEBO ADENIRAN is the chairman, Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders. Thank you very much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
A big thank you to all of our callers. Abdullah from Abuja, Abiola from Akura, Zibade Corden from Aba, Tunde from Oshogbo, Mr. Ono from Lagos, and Abdullah. Of course, Mr. Ono talked about not being able to collect PVCs in the Mushin local government area. We hope that INEC can quickly attend to that. Abdullah Corden from Suleja, Idowu from Ilorin, John from Lagos, and Vincent from Ado-Ekiti. We apologize if we'll not be able to pick your call. Derek Onoge, you might have to follow us on our Twitter and do so that we can have your comments and your contributions on the show at Call Digest Live. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. A big thank you to my production crew. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for watching on the show today. Stick around for the top of the hour news. Don't go away.
Glad to have you join us on another edition of The Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
You will see all sorts of politicians, even those who cannot manage their homes, will tell you to let them manage your lives. Look well, shine your eyes.
So stomach infrastructure is a way of life. Even if I cannot do anything, and I continue to help your stomach so that your life will keep on going. So my style is without apology. Stomach infrastructure is a way of life for me.
I should ask you, what is going right in this country? Is it education? Is it security? Infrastructure? Is it healthcare? What is going right? Absolutely nothing.
We mean to win Lagos. PDP is going to win Lagos in 2015. And that means that everybody must be on board.
INEC has colluded with the presidency, the opposing party, to rig this election from the data to the end.
The successful conduct of free, fair, and peaceful elections in Ekiti is a good omen for the subsequent elections to come, and the 2015 general elections must be the best.
The good, bad, ugly, and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on Core TV News.